Good morning, creators. Jaser here for ChrisJaserArt.com, bringing you the latest in animation, art, and tutorials. In this week's video, I'm going to show you how to take your rough sketches and drawings and push them to the next level. Now, I'm planning on doing more videos where I reconstruct people's drawings, maybe resketch them, and I want to do more of these videos of kind of like a student-teacher kind of relationship. So basically, the student will show me their work, and I will just go through and show them the highlights of the good things and what to improve on and sketch right on top of the drawings, which I'm going to be doing with this drawing today. So what inspired this video is a conversation that I had with a coworker whose girlfriend is an aspiring artist, and he showed me a couple of pieces that she's done and they're really great, and her name's Katelyn, so she's the one providing the sample artwork that we are working on today. So thank you, Katelyn, if you're watching. Basically what I'm looking at doing is figuring out ways for her to improve upon what she's drawn and to kind of create a library of images and techniques that will allow her to grow as an artist and improve as an artist. And these can be applied to your artwork as well. So any sketches that you have in your sketchbook or drawings of characters that you like, this is a way for you to improve and push your drawings to the best that they can be. You can kind of tell straight from the beginning that there was no structure to her drawing. It looks like, just based off what I'm looking at right now, she put most of her time in the head, you know, getting all the nice details and everything, which is really good, and then just trying to add a body to it. If I draw right on top, you know, her curvature is a little much. Actually, if I do that again, like, her back really goes back. One thing I noticed too is with her hips, they're kind of turned this way even though the body's going forward. And of course too, I feel like her chest is a little bit bigger than it is. Now, the one thing I would like to say too, looking at good reference can help you kind of build a drawing as you go. Now, I actually went and actually looked at a couple pictures, and I found that these were probably the two closest ones. You know, and if I draw a curve, like, it's balanced. You know, you want to make sure that you're drawing it's balanced. Like, her shoulders right there, and like her rib cage will most likely be there, and her hips will be there. And you're just building a structure. You know, make sure that everything would actually stand together and will not move. You know, whereas like in the original drawing here, I feel like her back is breaking a bit. I mean, that's the one thing I'm just noticing. Like, it just feels like all the weight's going down to here, and pretty soon right here she's gonna be hurting. So it's good to kind of look at good references when you're doing drawings like that. And I mean, even looking at the other girl right here, she's a little more structured. So if I bring down the opacity a bit on here, on her, draw her, I mean, it's a little bit of a curve. And I mean, you got her head right here, you know, and her neck starts. And if you know your anatomy, you basically have an S of a spine, and your ribs will be right about here, and then your hips start about there. Basically almost drawing like your skeleton. And that's how I start my drawings. So how can I take this drawing and improve upon it? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to duplicate this drawing. Mind you, all these techniques too can be used for any program. So Photoshop, Sketchbook Pro, like I'm using right now, or even just, you know, copying a drawing and printing it out again and drawing on top of it, you know, or putting a new piece of paper on. Like, these are the same techniques that anyone can use. You don't need to have fancy programs to do this. I'm just doing this so that it's quick and efficient. One thing I like to do with here is that I like to take my drawing and make adjustments, I want her to kind of move forward a bit. Just by doing that, if I bring up the other one, you'll notice how much of a change just by moving her, just adjusting her drawing just a little bit has helped significantly. Making little adjustments like that, like even I might move her head to make this drawing a little more dynamic. And you can do this too with your drawing. It's okay to mess it up just a little bit. Okay, so you can tell just by even just doing those little adjustments how much of a difference that just made. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw her a new structure right on top of her. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is figuring out her pose in relation to the sketch. Now I'm actually focusing mostly on the anatomy, placing her ribs, placing her hips, and just figuring out where she's placing most of her weight and figuring out if she's anatomically correct. I'm also adjusting her arms and putting them in a different pose to make the pose a little more dynamic and more appealing. Now I'm going to the next stage of doing line art. This would be a little bit more details, but I am also still making adjustments as I'm drawing. Even though I'm adding more detail to each rendition, I am going through and making adjustments, like I move the arm, adjust the head, shrink it down a little bit. That way I could get the most out of this drawing each time I sketch her. Alright, so I just went through and just did a really rough sketch. You can just tell just from the original how much of an improvement you can make just by pushing your drawing a little bit more and obviously going through and making adjustments. So I'm just going to go through another time lapse and just finish up the final sketching of this and inking and whatnot. Alright, so now I'm going through with the inking this right now and focusing on adding a little more details to her. When I do this, I'm mostly focusing on adding and refining things that I already have. There will be an example coming up soon that I have really messed up on the hand, and I actually have to go back in the previous one, erase it completely, and start anew because the posing of the hand wasn't working as well. And I actually go through another rendition of this drawing where I actually blew it out completely and started adding highlights and shadows. Like right now I'm adding red highlights and shadows so I can get a better sense of where my shadows and highlights would be. And here will be the final look. Alright, so here it is. Here's the final drawing of her. As you can see, just moving it down a little bit, I made sure that proportions were pretty well set. I mean, her head is looking this way, yet her body is still kind of in the same plane and such. I was gonna do her as a 3/4 view, but I figured just to have her turn, I mean, even just it's more like that now rather than this weird arc turning. And obviously I shrunk down her breast a little bit so that way she's not too top heavy, but she has more of a three-dimensional look now as we compare it to what we originally have, where she's bent back and more focused on the bust and it almost looks like she's about to break her back, whereas this drawing I don't think she's gonna break anything. In any case, I want to thank Katelyn for supplying the original drawing. This was a lot of fun to do, and hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments. Like this video if you found this very helpful. And of course, if you want to get more updates and find the latest videos, definitely hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.